Dude, you're gonna end the show with a rap every time?
Yeah, dude, every single time.
You heard it here. He's gonna end the show with a rap every single time.
Next episode, I'm boxing James Tynion, so you're gonna want to.
So you're gonna get rolled.
Oh, absolutely. Welcome, everybody, to the first, I guess, pilot episode of a new show we're trying to start here at Memory Lane Comics, where we're just gonna have like conversations with people involved in the comic book making process, whether it's like artists or writers, editors, comic shop owners, which brings us to our first guest on the show, guys, Misters Jake and Ben Motzinger.
Monsieur, yeah.
Yeah.
For a little respect on that thing, please.
Yeah, no, a little pepper. Guys, welcome. Thank you, first and foremost, for giving me the space and time to do this. I know I've been pestering you guys for, like, months, probably, like, over a year, maybe, about doing something like this, and it's honestly really cool to finally get something like this going. Memory Lane Comics, the shop. We're located in downtown Wilmington, North Carolina. The shop has been in Wilmington for now over 41 years. And obviously, neither of you guys are close to that age.
I'm pretty close to that age. But
I wanted to hear you guys talk a little bit about how you came into the scene with Memory Lane Comics.
this is a job I wanted, like, always. So when I was like a high school, middle school kid, I was high school kid. I kept asking the guy who owned Memory Lane if I could get if I could get hired here, and he was just like, no. He didn't want anybody that was, a kid on there, and it was just I kept just like kind of pestering about it, and fell out of comics for a little bit in like late high school, and then popped back in because I heard about Marvel Zombies was coming out, and I was like, that sounds too cool, I need to check this out, and popped back into the Memory Lane, and he was like, he actually asked me if I wanted to work there for the first, so it reversed a little bit there. Someone had just given their notice, and so I was like, yes.
The spot opened up, man.
And so I worked there through college, and Ben was brought on at some point working with me. Mm-hmm. And then we got the opportunity to take over ownership.
Yeah.
Been rolling.
Did you guys see any difference between like working there and then like taking on the business?
Entirely, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much stuff you have to do to be a business owner. That's not just like sitting there at the counter selling stuff or ordering things or whatever. It's so much more involved. We had no budget. We had no concept of how much we should and shouldn't spend, and how much how to do anything up here. So it was. I thought I knew like everything when I was taking over, and I didn't know anything. And so it was a long learning curve of hard knocks of figuring it out with our back against the wall.
But we also had the freedom to actually make the changes that we wanted to make for the first time. Previously we'd make the changes when the old owner was gone, and we'd change it back before he got back. Yeah, just to kind of like play with it and see how it what worked, what didn't work. So a lot of the ideas that we wanted to implement, we were suddenly able to do. So you did start to see a positive turn in the store soon after, but it took a while. It was a thing where I think we weren't really sure how to come about telling everyone that new ownership, new direction, new ideas, new store basically, and so it took a while of just people coming back to us and trying us again for the first time in a while, and just kind of building from there. But like he said, we were so green. We kept thinking, oh, they might just come to us. They'll just come to us. It's fine.
I was convinced at that time that comics were a destination business. Like, comic book people will seek you out. They'll Google where the comic shops are. They'll go find you. And a lot of people do that, but it's a way smaller percentage of the comic population than I thought was going to be the case. I mean, I found out real quick that if you're not getting your business in front of people, you're going to fail. It doesn't really matter what business you're doing at that point. And so for us, it was kind of a figuring out how to, with virtually no money, how do we get people in the, to know about us? Because we're in one of the busiest areas of our city now, of a tourist city that gets gajillion people every year to come through and visit, and we have so many more people now that we're in this really busy area, but still there's people locally that don't know that we exist, which is mind-boggling. But we're advertising on so many different platforms, but you still there's never enough.
Yeah, you can't reach everybody.
everyone. Do you guys remember, or can you pinpoint like the day where there was a turning point where you were like, because I know you guys have talked about how at the beginning there for a while, you guys were like going, making it week by week, struggling to kind of keep the lights on and everything. But do you guys remember the switch whenever you were like, okay, this is now like running a lot smoother. This is like sustainable.
Probably it was at some point after moving down to this area, and it was still not that busy when we first kicked off down here, but it just eventually started really growing. And there was definitely a point where like the struggle of can we pay rent next month like faded away, and now it was okay, now we can get we can think about staffing, and we can get people that can help us bring this into the next stage. So can't pinpoint the day or anything, but it's within the last 7 years, because we were down. That's when we moved down here, and it's been to the point that like we got busy enough that we needed help, and then we could afford. You're busy enough that you could afford the help. It's tough when you're trying to sort that stuff out, and I know why so many businesses struggle with this stuff, especially the comic book industry. But we're somewhat of a lucky position to be surrounded constantly by new people and have a really good subscriber base that comes frequently. It's working now.
When you guys took over, what do you think was the most like surprising aspect of running a comic shop? What was like the thing you probably would have never even thought about, and then you jumped in and you were like, oh wow, now I have to.
I mean, just there's so many different types of customers with all these different requests, and trying to find the line of like wanting to have everything that everybody wants, but not having stuff that's just not going to sell is so difficult. Where like I guess that one of the things was I now know that I'm sometimes going to have to disappoint people. Our store's only so big.
Yeah,
we can't stock. Insert whatever
model
thing here.
Yeah, model baseball cards.
I mean, people come in and just say like, "Well, why don't you guys have these?" It's like, well, in 15 years, you're the first person to ask for it. Like that's.
Or we frequently get asked about baseball cards and stuff, but it's that'd be a whole new thing for us to learn. You almost have to hire a whole new person, or I'd have to like.
It's like a hobby in itself. That's like a whole other.
Where would
monster.
we display baseball cards? How will we make this work? And we get asked it all the time, but. That means if something's going to come in, that means something has to go. And so now we got to remove something that we're already passionate about for the most part, that we are selling, to make room for something that we need to learn about. So it's difficult trying to be everything for everyone, but the realization that you can't be everything for everyone is very freeing at the same time, where you're just like, oh no, we don't stock those.
Yeah.
And so it used to be like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have, I'm sorry. Now it's just unfortunately we don't carry those.
You can go over there. This place over here has it.
Right.
This place over here has it. There's a lot of things are offered in this area.
We're specialty retail, not Walmart. We're not a department store or whatever. Where we're supposed to have like everything under the sun.
Yeah, I mean, there is a certain sense to not being able to have everything, but also to remaining fluid. We've changed things up 100 times. We do it. Every month we change something, we make something different, we move things around. I think that was the main thing that we kind of caught on early was that changes made people excited. And so like when we started selling action figures, the first action figures ever sold in here were the ones that we had as kids. It was loose action figures in a case at the shop. That was the first action figures we really started selling. So we brought those in. And all of a sudden, people that have been coming for years walk in, they see a new case in the middle, and they just see all these. We had hundreds of action figures. We had a drum case and more full of just loose action figures.
And those were all just from your
collection?
No way.
Kids, yeah. And so we sold our childhood toys to kind of kickstart toys in the shop.
We never intended on having toys or anything, and anything that was on display. And we had a bunch of Bowen statues and different cool things like that, but they were just ours that we were displaying there. But when you're trying to make rent, you have to sell stuff you don't want to sell when people ask about it. And so slowly our own stuff started selling, and it started being like, okay, well, people really like this stuff, and it makes us different from the other guys in town.
Yeah, so maybe we can order a case of this action figure. Maybe we can order like this statue. Maybe we can do this and give this a try. So it was just, we started to see positive changes or positive reactions to changes we were making around the store, and so that kind of taught us to just consistently be moving, consistently be updating and staying in tune with what people were looking for.
And there was a point where somebody traded in, and he basically twisted my arm into taking it, the original Mark 1 Iron Man Hot Toys figure. It was really cool. But I was like, man, no one's gonna buy a $200 action figure. I was like, that just doesn't exist in this town. That's just like, I just don't see it happening. And he's like, look, I want this much for it. Just do that and I'll be happy, and you can put it on display or whatever. And so I was like, all right, fine. And so I put like a little, it was like a wine bottle display case or something with this single action figure in there. And people were like, whoa, you guys carry Hot Toys? And I was like, I didn't know people knew what these were. But there's a lot of people in town that did. And they're like, hey, if you can order these, I'll order them from you. And so all of a sudden, somebody kind of basically really just almost giving us this thing ended up in sparking something where now we have dozens and dozens of different Hot Toys figures on display at the shop now. We sell them like crazy. A lot of the stuff that we stock has been kind of around those things where it's just happened.
Yeah.
Was there anything specific in there that you were like, gosh?
I mean, it was all stuff when we were kids, so all of it hurt to see go. But I think at the same time, you have to be able to let go of stuff in here. We don't run a museum; we run a store. And I saw from the previous ownership, where he would take a lot of stuff and end up putting it in his personal collection he was buying from people, and it's a quick way to go out of business. So it really worked out well for us. In day one of taking over the store, I built the comic wall, the back wall of comics from my own. Any key issue or good comic I had went up on that wall, and it was like a little piece of me felt like it was dying each time that someone bought one of those. But it wasn't a piece of me that was dying. It was this necessity to collect these things, and it was insanely important. And it's great if people have that necessity, but not if you're trying to sell them. It doesn't go together. In order to make you're not going to feed your family.
As you can see, it completely broke Jacob his collecting. Now he collects nothing.
No longer collects.
So that is a point where all of a sudden I was able to jump back on with this stuff. Once we were stable enough that I wasn't pulling stock from the store. I wasn't killing ourselves in order to be able to buy stuff. I can again, but there's ridiculously cool stuff that passes through that I would love to have.
I was gonna say, you're very selective about the stuff you collect. You have a purpose behind buying all the figures, like Chasm.
Well, it's also if we would take something home, it was almost inevitable that within the week somebody would come in and ask for it. And if we wouldn't have it in the store, we'd be come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you break that part of you that feels like you have to have these things, because all of a sudden it's more important to make the sale and to keep the customer happy than it is to have it sitting in a box in your closet. And so we would almost consistently be bringing things that we owned back and just moving them to the customers. And it did, especially in the lean times, it completely broke both of us of that necessity of collecting. And so it made, whenever we pick up something now, it does make it more selective. It makes it more as something that we want to be part of a complete, but also now we know that we don't have to just sell it if somebody comes in and is hey, you guys have this? It's no.
Yeah.
The other factor I feel now is the stuff that I buy is stuff that I know I want, not stuff I'm trying to turn into something. or like I'm not collecting it for value. So
Yeah.
like I might as well write my name on the comic, or like write Jake on the bottom of the action figure foot or something, because I don't want someone to. I want it to just be like, no one would want this because it says my name on it.
Yeah, I think
That's
I've heard
how
you.
I want my stuff to.
I've heard you say like you even for like Hot Toys boxes. Sometimes you just like
Oh, I chuck those.
throw them away.
Yeah.
So there's no like.
I just put all the parts in a bag and chuck the box.
Yeah, if you've ever seen the Free the Figure videos,
Oh my gosh.
it's it's real. He
Yeah.
just like rips into them. They're completely shredded, and then like he's like, oh wait, there's a little bag of parts in there too.
Yeah.
A little bag of parts out. But yeah,
Yeah.
he shreds them. I mean, I keep most of mine still like in the box now. Like most of my stuff's still on display in box, but so we're different there. But I also collect like different things. So some of my things can come out of the box without like damaging the box, and then I have like box display with figure in front.
You really do that.
Yeah, I've got a much different display than he does, but yeah, his Legends collection is legendary.
Yeah, yeah, truly. My gosh. No, that's crazy. That's nuts that you guys have like very different forms of collecting considering y'all are twins. That's pretty crazy.
Some will confidently say we're twins.
Yeah.
I assure you we are not.
They're definitely not twins.
2 years apart.
No, that's awesome. And I've heard you say to like, I guess we get a lot of people that come in and they're like, how do you not like keep all this stuff to yourself? Especially when we had that insane collection with like Amazing Fantasy 15, ASM 1, like most Marvel keys were in that collection, and like I heard time and time again people asking you like, how are you not holding this back for your own collection? And you said like it's almost like it is for at least for a brief time. It is in my collection. I did get to like enjoy it, and
I've
like
owned multiple copies of Fantasy 15.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like this is our collection.
Single issue Superman comics, single digit number Superman comics. I mean, like some of the like coolest things.
Superman 9.
Yeah,
The
and sometimes
Eagle cover was amazing.
sometimes I own it for 7 minutes before someone claims it or something, and sometimes it's a few months. But it's technically we've owned all this kind of stuff, and it's and in order to make sure we get another one at some point, you have to sell these things. So cash flow is ridiculously important up here, and we sell everything at a sellable price instead of like jacking it up and waiting for the right person sucker to come in. Like our goal is to sell something about as good a price as anyone can find it and get it in their hands to make their day. So we love being like, I love that this place is it's a lot of people's happy place,
yeah. And I mean, from my short time being here, like I've seen that it usually stuff just comes back around. If you miss out on something, like chances of seeing it again are likely. Even if it takes a while, like it'll more than likely show back up if you're patient enough.
Yeah, I mean, in 15 years, we've seen. I mean, like the Amazing Fantasy 15 idea is that like we've seen this one Amazing Fantasy 15. We've sold it twice now, and
The same one.
Yeah, and so like it does come around, and it even if it's something you sell that you think like, man, that person's gonna keep it forever, and all of a sudden that person walks back in like 10 years later, and it's just like, hey, I'm looking to sell, and then we take it back in, we move it to the next guy. That guy might bring it in 5 years from now. So you never know. But it's the idea that especially if you are selling things locally, that there's always the possibility of it coming back around. And that's why that is why we try to keep most of the stuff that's like kind of more unique, like more rare, like that. We do try to keep it all in the store, and we don't put it up there for somebody from Washington State to buy because I'm not looking to ship it to Washington State. I wanted to be in Ogden. I wanted to be Leland. I wanted to be like down on 7th Street. Even
people who are visiting from Raleigh and Charlotte, there's a chance that we have people who will drive back hours to the store to swap comics again with us. So it's if it stays locally, it's really great to be able to provide that. And we love when people are from Ohio or anywhere and come in and buy stuff.
Totally.
But it's beautiful to be able to keep it as local as possible.
Yeah, I just know that people, like a lot of people are like, why isn't this available online? Why are you mailing this out? It's like, well, I mean, these things, they're so like wonderfully unique, and they all have their differences and as far as like damages, conditions and stuff. And we would really prefer if you like.
We would just have no
traveled in.
stock.
Yeah, even if you traveled in, we just want you to have your hands on it before you make the purchase.
Oh yeah, big time.
Like that's the big thing for us is especially big sales like that. Like we want you to have it in hand. We want you to be there to make the decision and not get it and then be disappointed or something because maybe you didn't see this or that.
Right. I wanted to see if you guys could rank the Memory Lane staff in terms of punching power, just real quick.
I think Ben's the guy to talk to on this one.
Obviously, I'm number one. Number two over here, but distant two, but two nonetheless, and then
Distant.
obviously they far distant three.
Closing in.
Tyler with the lowest ranking score I've ever seen. It's awesome.
Tyler is behind the camera.
He scored a 1.
He got a 1.
It was pretty impressive.
I never thought I'd live to see it.
Eric remains unranked. He is currently the fastest
He's the
punching.
speed champion.
He's the speed demon. It feels like Memory Lane is kind of becoming ingrained in like Wilmington culture. It's been here for over 41 years, and it definitely is leaving. Like you guys are leaving your mark on Wilmington. But what does the future of the shop look like for you guys?
So we have 2 locations, part 1 and part 2, which are across the street from each other. I mean, ideally we'd figure out some way to either be next to each other or back in the same building. Combining our staffs back into a little bit closer quarters. It's tough to tell people, walk across the street and then take a left and you'll be right there, which is extremely simple directions. But when you're trying to,
how many people don't do it?
yeah, so it's we're trying to figure out our next moves on stuff, but definitely just to maintain our status as a staple of this town.
Yeah, I mean, just remain part of the community, and I think that's one of the things we want to do more of going forward is being even more ingrained in community. And now that we're stable, that seems like something that we can definitely pull off. And I think that's, you said it earlier that there's 200,000 people in the surrounding area, and no matter what kind of advertising we've done, there's still people out there that don't know about us. I think that's the next step is just making sure that through whatever means, just making sure that everyone does. And easier said than done, but
Yeah.
that's the next step.
And any advice you guys would give to anyone that's looking to open a comic book shop? I've only heard this like once or twice, but I think it's always fascinating.
Number 1 is don't do it. Number 2, if you have to do it, and I think it's awesome if you do, you have got to be in front of people. You cannot just open anywhere and just expect people to come to you. You've got to have your stuff in a high traffic area. A ton of people don't know that they want comics until they see a comic book store and they come in and they see how cool comics are, but they're not just going to drive over to the comic book store often enough. It's crazy, but you have got to be in front of people.
Yeah, and be willing to listen to your audience because they're the ones that are going to tell you what they'll spend money on. So if you have this idea and then you do it and it doesn't seem like people are very reactive to it, but people are asking for other things, for the love of God, get those other things because that's what's going to keep you successful. Just listen to your audience, learn from them, and be willing to adapt.
What is I want to go through like a few rapid fire questions. A dream like artist or writer that you guys would want to have as a guest do a signing at the shop.
Man, I've always thought it would be like cool to have Todd McFarlane, like a major like kind of 90s era like hitter like that. I think would be really fun.
Bobby K.
Yep, Robert Kirkman.
Yeah, Bobby K.
Yeah, I mean, we've met him a couple of times at different conventions and stuff at like breakfast that he holds for retailers, and he's just an unbelievably nice guy. I'd love to have him in here, just kind of pick his brain because obviously, like as you know, Invincible is just like my staple for where I think comics should be and like what they can be. And I would say as far as like people currently working those, like Daniel Warren Johnson, I mean, just everything he's doing is absolute gold.
Just the first thing that comes to mind, your favorite ongoing comic series.
Man,
Transformers or Ultimate Spider-Man. They're both just it's neck and neck for me on those two.
Yeah, I guess I'm really enjoying the Moon Knight stuff right now. So I know it's like it was Moon Knight, now it's Vengeance and Moon Knight. But I love that one at present. Jed McKay's killing it.
Dude, he's the truth. Favorite graphic novel of all time.
Murder Falcon.
Nice.
Invincible.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. No, well, thank you guys for giving me time out of your day to do this and the space. Next time around, we're going to have Joe Kovis on here. He is drawing our shop exclusive cover for TMNT #1. We're going to be doing a crazy launch party for it. It's going to be a pizza party the 24th of July. We're going to be raising money for a local sea turtle rescue. We'll have all that information on a Facebook event page that should be up soon. So definitely mark your calendars and come out to support a local artist, kind of getting his big break in a big title, and to help rescue some sea turtles.
Yeah, save the turtles, guys.
Save the turtles.
Yeah, stop ignoring the turtles. It's enough. It's enough ignoring.
This episode was recorded at Memory Lane Comics. Check out our shops in downtown Wilmington, North Carolina. Follow us on Instagram at Memory Lane Comics and at Memory Lane Comics Part 2, and on TikTok at Memory Lane Comics and Toys. Links to all social media in the episode description.